Hi everyone. Here are 30 questions and answers from the lesson Peter and Wendy. So keep a book and pen ready and let's see how many of these questions you can get right. Are you ready to begin? Here's the first question. What was the fairy looking for? Your answer should be the fairy was looking for Peter's shadow. The second question. Where was the fairy looking for Peter's shadow? And I have a little clue for you. Look at the picture carefully. Your answer? The fairy was looking for Peter's shadow in the drawers. The third one. What was the fairy's name? The answer? The fairy's name was Tinkerbell. All right, the fourth one. What was the fairy wearing? What do fairies normally wear? What was this fairy wearing? The answer? The fairy was wearing a leaf gown. The fifth question. How did the window open? There's a clue there right in front of you. So let's see if you got the answer right. The window opened by the breathing of the little stars. Did you get it right? Here's the sixth question. Who came in through the window? And yes, your clue is there right in front of you. What was his name? Your answer? Peter came in through the window. The seventh question. What was Peter's hand messy with? And again, I have a clue for you. Look carefully. So the answer is Peter's hand was messy with fairy dust. Okay, the eighth question. Why was Peter's hand messy with fairy dust? And of course, there's a clue again. Look carefully. The answer? Peter's hand was messy with fairy dust because he had carried Tinkerbell part of the way. Not the whole way, part of the way. And she was a fairy, and so his hand was messy with fairy dust. Here comes the ninth question for you. Where was Tinkerbell when Peter called out to her? Oh, the answer's right there. Got it? I'm sure you'll get this one. When Peter called out to Tinkerbell, she was in a jug. Exactly like that on your screen. The 10th one. Why did Tinkerbell love being in the jug? She did not want to come out of there. Why? The answer? Tinkerbell loved being in the jug because she had never been in one before. It was her first time, and we all enjoy our first experience of everything, isn't it? So it was her first experience being in a jug. Let's carry on to the 11th question now. Describe fairy language. Your clue is in that picture. So what was fairy language like, according to the story? Your answer should be fairy language was like the loveliest tinkle of golden bells. Right? Moving on to the 12th one. What did Tinkerbell call the chest of drawers? You can see a chest of drawers in front of you. Tinkerbell did not know it was called a chest of drawers, so she called it something else. Now, what exactly did she call it? Let's see if you got the answer right. Tinkerbell called the chest of drawers the big box because, well, honestly, it does look like a big box, doesn't it? Okay, the 13th one. What did Peter think when he brought his shadow close to him? So Peter had been looking for his shadow all this time, and he finally found it. Where? Okay, I hope you know that. And now he needed to stick his shadow back on. So, what did he think when he brought his shadow close to him? The answer? Peter thought that his shadow would join to him like drops of water. You know, if you have one drop of water and you have another drop of water close by, you can pull them together and make them join together and form one bigger drop of water. So he thought that the same thing would happen to his shadow. It would just come automatically and join to him. Did that happen? No, it didn't. So the 14th question is, where was Tinkerbell while Peter tried to fix his shadow back on? It's so clear from the picture, isn't it? The answer? While Peter tried to fix his shadow back on, Tinkerbell was locked up in a drawer. Who locked her up? Do you know? And why? Do you know? 15th question. Who had locked Tinkerbell in a drawer and how? So, Peter had locked Tinkerbell in a drawer by mistake when he recovered his shadow from there. He did not mean to lock her up in the drawer, but he was just so excited that he found a shadow that he had forgotten about Tinkerbell. And he closed the drawer shut, and Tinkerbell stayed inside. The 16th question. Why did Peter sit on the floor and cry? It's obvious, isn't it? And your answer should be Peter could not stick his shadow on, so he sat on the floor and cried. The 17th one. With what did Peter try to stick his shadow onto himself? What did he use? Did you get the answer right? Peter tried to stick his shadow onto himself with soap from the bathroom. Ever heard of something so funny? Soap from the bathroom. Okay, the 18th one. Who woke up on hearing Peter's sobs? Sobs meaning he was crying bitterly. Why was he crying bitterly? Because he had failed to stick his shadow back on and he needed his shadow. Someone heard him crying and woke up. Who was that? Now, if you look at the picture carefully, you'll guess that it was a girl. But what was her name? Your answer? Wendy woke up on hearing Peter's sobs. Her name was Wendy. The 19th question. What was Wendy's full name? So now we know her name is Wendy. But what was her full name? It was quite long. I'll tell you that. So what was it? Okay, so Wendy's full name was Wendy Moira Angela Darling. Wendy Moira Angela Darling. Can you imagine that? 4 names. Most of us have 3 perhaps, or 4. I don't know, but it is quite long, isn't it? The 20th question. Why did Peter suddenly feel that his name was short? He never ever thought that before. Why did he suddenly feel that way? The answer? Peter suddenly felt that his name was short because Wendy made him feel that way. The 21st question. Where did Peter live? Now that's a real strange one. Where did Peter live? His address is unique. So let's see if you know. Peter's address was second to the right and then straight on till morning. Have you ever heard of an address like this? I don't think so. Right? This is a fairy tale. Second to the right and then straight on till morning? Straight on till morning. Who says something like that? Peter did. The 22nd question. Why did Wendy feel sorry for Peter? Why? Because she was kind hearted? Definitely. But what made her feel sad? The answer? Wendy felt sorry for Peter because she saw his shadow on the floor, looking draggled. That shadow did not look nice at all. The 23rd question. Why did Peter smile? Sorry, why did Wendy smile when she looked at the shadow? The answer is right there. Look at the picture and you'll know. So, what made Wendy smile? What did she think was funny? Got it? Wendy saw that Peter had been trying to stick the shadow on with soap. That made her smile. Because no one can really do that. You can't stick something on with soap. Well, the fact still remains that no one's shadow ever gets detached. That is also something funny. The 24th question. How did Wendy plan to attach Peter's shadow to him? And there's your answer. But how will you say it in a proper sentence? Let's see. Wendy planned to sew the shadow onto Peter. That word is spelled SEW, but it is pronounced as sew, like SO. Wendy planned to sew the shadow onto Peter. And if you don't like the word sew, which means stitch, you can just say stitch. Wendy planned to stitch the shadow onto Peter. But be careful of the spelling. It is STITCH, stitch. Or just say sew, because sew is so much easier to spell. SEW. All right, the 25th one. What did Wendy warn Peter? So she decided that she was going to stitch or sew the shadow back onto Peter, but she warned him about something in advance. What did she say? Do you remember? The answer? Wendy warned Peter that it might hurt him a little when she stitched the shadow onto him. She said, "Be careful, Peter. I will stitch it onto you and that will work. But it might hurt you a little." See, notice that I have used the word stitched in this answer and not sewed. But you can use the word sewed if you like. SEWD. Okay. The 26th one. Did it hurt? Did Peter cry? So was Wendy right? The answer? It did hurt him, but Peter did not cry. Okay. The 27th. How do you know that it hurt him? I'm not just simply saying that it hurt him. How do we know that it hurt him? Something in the story tells us that it did hurt him. How do we know? The answer? We know that it hurt him because the story says that he clenched his teeth. When someone is in pain and trying to bear it, they will clench their teeth, hold their mouth tight. That is clenching teeth. The 28th one. Why did Peter say, "How clever I am"? Do you know? This is why he said it. Peter said those words because he thought he had attached his shadow himself. He forgot that he had help. 29th. Why did Wendy call Peter conceited? You conceited boy? Why? The answer? Wendy called Peter conceited because he did not thank her for attaching his shadow. He conveniently forgot that it was Wendy who helped him. He did not bother to say thank you. In fact, he believed that he had done everything himself in the end, and he did not need to thank anyone. And the 30th, last question for this test. Why did Wendy jump into bed and cover her head with the blankets? Let's see if you got the last answer right. Wendy was upset with Peter, so she jumped into bed and covered her head with the blankets because she was upset with Peter. So, how many marks did you get out of 30? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have not done well, don't worry about it. Just pick up the textbook and read the lesson again. Not once, not twice, several times. Keep reading. That is the only way you can do well in English literature. Read the text over and over again. You will discover that each time you read the text, you will learn something different, something new, something that you had not discovered earlier or not learned earlier. So do that. Read it over and over again, and you will be able to do the test very well. Do the test again after you have read the text well. And then I'm sure you will get 30 on 30. All the best. Okay? Bye for now.